Gentleman from Louisiana, Bill Cassidy.
Thank you, Dr. Fleming. I always tell people, hepatologists, no, I don't do snakes, I do liver disease, so you have to make that correction. I just want to kind of pick up where Dr. Rowe left off. A lot of folks say, heck, how do we end up with Medicare going bankrupt when they've paid into it their whole life? Well, if we work backwards, it began, if you will, or maybe the most recent insult, was the fact that the President's health care plan, the Affordable Care Act, took $500 billion from Medicare. Instead of putting it back into Medicare to support the program, it used it to create their new entitlement. Now, that's important because as the graph you had earlier showed, at our current rate of going forward, by 2030, I think it is, Dr. Fleming, you have it right there.
Yes.
Roughly 2045, Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare will take up the entirety of our federal budget. Whatever tax dollars we receive by 2045 will be entirely consumed by those three entitlement programs. Do you have that graph where there is the debt on there as well?
This is the only graph I have.
So by 2030, I think it is, if nothing changes, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and the national debt will consume 100% of our tax revenue. Clearly, we have to preserve this important program. The other thing I like to point out to people, in 1964, when Medicare was conceived, people were having on average 4 kids per family. And so the folks that came up with Medicare said, well, people are having 4 kids per family now. Most likely they'll continue to have 4 kids per family going forward. Let's make this a pay-as-you-go. There will always be 4 people paying for the 2 people ahead of them. Well, it turns out families have shrunk. Now, I'd point out in most crowds, most people have more brothers and sisters than they do children. Families have decreased in size. Instead of on average 4 kids per family, now there's about 2.5. That demographic shift has made all the difference. Instead of a pay-as-you-go program where there is always as much money coming in as we needed to pay out, what has happened is families have shrunk. You have a large number of baby boomers and then their parents, and beneath it you have a kind of a tree, if you will, where it goes straight down. Instead of the pyramid originally thought that would occur, we now have something that looks like that and then goes straight down. There is no longer this broader base of people paying in. So but this is not, we're not the first to recognize this. John Breaux, the former Democratic senator from Louisiana, was appointed by President Bill Clinton to say, listen, the demographics are changing. How do we preserve Medicare? And it was actually John Breaux, a Democrat, who first came up with the premium support model. Now, we speak of it sometimes as a Republican plan. No, it was originally a Democratic plan, and it was a bipartisan commission. It came up with this premium support model as the thing that would save Medicare. As it turns out, President Clinton became distracted with the Monica Lewinsky affair, if you will, and it kind of got pushed to the wayside. So the same Breaux-Carey model conceived of in the 90s is the basis for what is now the bipartisan Wyden-Ryan plan. Now, although Dr. Rowe spoke of it earlier, it's worth going back over. If you're 55 and above, nothing changes from the Medicare program you've always known. Nothing changes. If you're 55 and above, if you're already on Medicare because you're disabled, nothing changes. If you're 54 and below, like I am, the program changes to premium support. Now, in the premium support model, it works kind of like Medicare Part D. I find the program that best fits my need. I choose the program that I want. If I'm very wealthy, I pay a little bit more. If I am poor, I pay nothing at all. But if I'm middle class, I pick the program I like. If it's a frugal program, then I pay less out of pocket. If it's a bells and whistles program, I may pay a little bit more out of pocket, much like the Medicare Part D program that seniors now get their drug benefit from. And by the way, a Medicare Part D program that has 80% approval among seniors.
If the gentleman will yield, by Medicare Part D,